with you.
Oh, Pam got me a new thing. She's so
What?
good.
Did you miss one?
This part kept following me.
Well, I think it's time, don't you?
Yep.
Straight up.
You ready to go?
Okay, the time is approximately 6 p.m. and the July 14th, 2022 Farragut Board of Mayor and Aldermen meeting will now come to order. All Farragut Board of Mayor and Aldermen meetings are public notice per Tennessee state law. Our meetings can be seen live on Charter Channel 193 and TDS Channel 3, as well as on our Farragut YouTube channel and our website. It will also be recorded and can be reviewed later on Town of Farragut YouTube channel, as well as Charter Channel 193 and TDS Channel 3. Concerning the regular posted agenda, if you are interested in speaking, we ask that you fill out the blue card with your name and address and agenda number and turn it into the town recorder prior to the start of the meeting. They are located on the back table there. The mayor, or in his absence, the vice mayor, shall maintain and control the meeting to provide a professional and objective environment. So please read the posted comment protocol and understand that there will be a 5-minute limit for each speaker, and please stay on topic. At the end of tonight's business meeting, there will be some time reserved for other public comment that is not an agenda item under the citizens' comment agenda. Okay, we'll start out with tonight with a silent prayer, and it will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to our country's flag. Pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'll now ask the town recorder to please take a attendance roll call for a quorum.
Alderman Burnett.
Here.
Alderman Meyer.
Here.
Alderman Pinchuk's absent. Alderman Povlin. Here. Mayor Williams.
Mayor Williams here. Okay, next will be approval of agenda. Any agenda amendments?
No, sir.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of approval, say yes.
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 Let the record show that July 14th, 2022 agenda has been approved as listed. Next will be approval of minutes. Or we have any amendments to the minutes?
No, sir.
None?
Move
Okay.
to approve.
Second.
Okay, with a motion and a second, all in favor of approval, say yes.
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 Let the record show that the June 23rd, 2022 minutes have been approved and will be recorded as official minutes of that meeting. Okay, I'm going to start out with I'll start out with a big welcome to Farragut for the folks from our new Aldi store located in the town center. I really want to give thanks to everybody involved in getting that store open. Bud Cullum for bringing it to us, and it's the first of many new businesses that will make up our town center at Biddle Farms. Next, I'm going to read a protocol, or a proclamation, excuse me. And Sue, you need to come on down. Okay, we'll start out with whereas parks and recreation programs are an integral part of the communities throughout this country, including the town of Farragut. Whereas our parks and recreation promotes time spent in nature with positive impacts, mental health, and wellness by increasing performances and well-being and alleviating illnesses such as depression, attention deficit, and Alzheimer's. Whereas parks and recreation programs build healthy and active communities and encourage physical activities by providing space for popular sports, walking trails, and many other activities designed to promote active lifestyles. Whereas parks and recreation programs increase communities' economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses. whereas parks and recreation areas are fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community, whereas parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for our children, adults, and to connect with nature and recreate outdoors together. Whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month, and whereas Town of Farragut recognizes the benefits derived from the parks and recreation resources. Now therefore be resolved, I, Ron Williams, Mayor of Farragut, Tennessee, do here designate July 2022 as Parks and Recreation Month. And I urge all citizens to explore, enjoy our parks and our recreation programs that we offer in the Town of Farragut. And I'm going to present this to Sue, and we get some pictures.
You want to be in this picture?
Oh, Lord.
You don't need me.
I'll just hang back here. I'm good. You're keeping back.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Sue.
When you walk by.
I appreciate that.
Okay, next, we have a special presentation tonight to be given by our guests, and I'm going to now yield the floor to David Smoke for their introduction.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. We thought it would be a good idea to bring our colleagues from the Knox County Emergency Management Agency here tonight to discuss emergency management in our region, in our county. And first, I wanted to just give a real brief overview with the town of Farragut. I think most citizens know, and obviously the board, that we don't have police and fire services directly involved from the town of Farragut as a service, but one of the direct services we do have is public services, public works. Public Works is a first responder to various situations that we have come up all the time. Many times we have 911 calls or even calls to dispatch that say, hey, there's a tree down, there's been, I see a electrical line down, something like that. And our crews are on call all the time on the weekends and at night to go out to make sure they take care of those situations, get the roads cleared, make sure that there's anything dangerous in the roadways, any kind of flooding situation, that they go out immediately for that. And so they do a wonderful job coordinating both with the Rural Metro Fire Department and also with Knox County Sheriff's Office whenever we need anything immediately done just in the Farragut area. But sometimes those events become bigger. They're larger than just Farragut. They're region-wide, they're county-wide, and that's when the Knox County Emergency Management Agency comes into play. And so we invited Colin Ikes here tonight, who is the director of KEMA, to say a few words about what KEMA is and does and how we work together.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Aldermen. Thank you for your time. I'll try to be brief. Of course, I'm happy to answer any questions. My name is Colin Ikes. I'm the director of the Knox County Emergency Management Agency. I'd also like to introduce Sarah Delosier and Marcus Shepard. They're our operations officers. And so our role, we're responsible for planning and preparedness on the front end, and then coordination and support when there's a major emergency and disaster. Our responsibility is the entirety of Knox County, to include the town as well as the city of Knoxville. And I certainly want to thank the town and leadership for the ongoing, continuing partnership. And I'll touch on that a few times, but Dave, please jump in if you'd like to. So just a few things about our role and responsibilities. So our day-to-day work is preparing and planning for major emergencies and disasters. I'll talk a little bit more about that, but some of the things we do, we lead a committee of leaders from all of our local emergency response agencies across the county. We manage the Emergency Operations Center. We have a mobile command unit that we may respond to the scene with. We work a lot with our emergency responders and partner with them on training and exercising opportunities and of course outreach to the community. Allison, next slide, please. So our day-to-day work is planning, training, and exercises for the most part. When it's blue sky day, when there's no emergency disaster going on, we're happily working behind the scenes, and frankly, that's when the important work happens. In my opinion, if we want to be successful the day of the big crisis, it takes a lot of front end work and work to plan and prepare and to plan, exercise, to practice what we're going to do. So to give you just a few examples of the type of work that we do, we've been working recently on some active shooter response training for our emergency responders. That's something in collaboration with our Homeland Security District as well as our emergency response agencies. And when I say that we are doing something, I want to be clear that that really always means in cooperation and collaboration together with our partners across the town, the city, and the county, and all of our emergency response agencies. Virtually nothing we do is us alone by ourselves. The entire nature of our work is collaborative and represents a joint effort of all of our local response agencies. So some of the things that we are working on and have been working on recently is active shooter response, specifically the medical response to that. We've been working on developing an ADA emergency response plan to make sure we're serving all of our community, particularly inclusive of our community members with access, functional needs, or with disabilities. We've relatively recently been resuming training. The headliner of the last couple of years has been COVID, and that unfortunately put a stop to a lot of our training program. So we're trying to get back to and playing catch up, frankly, a little bit with some of the training that we've been doing with our emergency response agency partners, particularly with some upper level incident command system training. We're wrapping up the overhaul of our emergency operations plan. That's our overarching and big picture plan, which again, that's big picture, and that includes and addresses primarily it's geared towards all of our emergency response agencies, but again includes the town as well. And so I do want to thank. So planning, training, exercises is kind of the day-to-day work that we do. I do want to thank the mayor for joining us last month. Every June we have pretty large, it's our biggest emergency operations center exercise of the year, simulating an emergency at the Department of Energy at the Oak Ridge Reservation, and I appreciate the mayor joining us at our emergency operations center for that exercise. Last month. It's always, exercises are important for us to practice. That's how we practice what we would do during a major crisis. So Mayor, thank you for your time. Appreciate you joining us. Speaking of planning and exercising, we do. Again, our focus tends to be with our emergency response agency partners, the folks that serve the town here, Knox County Sheriff's Office, of course, Rural Metro Fire Department, and AMR. But of course, it goes beyond that too. We work pretty regularly with. I want to recognize Dan Johnson, Town Farragut Fire Marshal, as well as Trevor Hobbs. They've been important partners as well in terms of some of our planning and training efforts. And so when we sometimes get asked, well, what are we planning for actually? Disasters don't happen here, do they? Well, here's a list of some of if you open one of our plans, what you'll find before you get too many pages in is, well, what are we concerned about, and what kind of things are we planning for? And so the most common type of disaster to affect our community tends to be weather related. And you probably don't have to think back too far. Some of the recent ones that come to mind, the February 2019 flooding was some of the worst flooding that this area has seen. I also mentioned the Memorial Day weekend 2017 storms that particularly hit hard this area and West Knox County. You may remember that. And so weather-related emergencies are the most common. but certainly not the only thing we're concerned about. We worry a lot about hazardous materials incidents. There are over 250 Tier 2 sites across the county. Those are industrial or commercial facilities that keep large enough stockpiles of chemicals on site to be required to report that to us, where of course we sit at the crossroads of two major interstates where tanker trucks, hazardous materials are transported in significant quantities on a daily basis, and not a lot of people think about the underground pipelines that serve the community as well, bring natural gas to our community, as well as petroleum products. If you've ever driven past the tanks, large storage tanks on Middlebrook Pike, well, that frankly comes right through the town here. Large underground pipelines that bring all of the diesel, gasoline, jet fuel, and things like that to the entire region, comes frankly literally through people's backyards next to schools and churches, and en route to being pumped to those storage tanks, where it's then distributed throughout the region. So those are just some of the things that we think about and concerned about and plan and prepare for. Next slide, please, Allison. Thank you. So when there is a major emergency, we kind of think about there being a two-tiered management system. So of course, on the scene of the emergency, you'll have an incident commander. Depending on the nature of the emergency, that'll be usually a leader from the Knox County Sheriff's Office, or it again, depending on the nature, it may be someone. A leader from Rural Metro Fire Department, and they're the ones who are telling the emergency responders where to go and what to do on the scene. And that's of course a really important job. That's not our role. Our role is to support the incident commander. So we are not first responders ourselves. We have the utmost respect for the folks that are, but we are there to essentially to coordinate, to support, and to make sure that they have the tools that they need. Our role, for the most part, is in the Emergency Operations Center. And so the EOC is a room in the 911 building. It's intentionally a step removed from the chaos of the scene, and so we're kind of the back end support, where we work on high-level planning, forward planning. We offer coordination and support. It's the information hub. We gather, again, it's never just us. If you can see, I don't know how well you can make out the picture of the right there. I apologize, it's a small picture, but what you're seeing is representatives from all of our local emergency response agencies. And that's where we're all there together, sharing information and putting our heads together about how we're best going to solve the issues and work together and collaborate to respond to the emergency. That picture was actually taken February 2019. I mentioned the flooding earlier. That particular Saturday morning in late February, the EOC right there, that was the central point of coordination for more than 120 water rescues that took place across the county that day. So next slide, please. Again, a little bit more about response and what kind of disasters have happened here across our community. We've had 14 federally declared disasters here in Knox County since 1963, when that's when the Stafford Act was passed. That's when federally declared disasters became a thing. Unfortunately, 2/3 of those have been since the year 2000. So we're following the national trends of disasters, frankly, becoming more frequent as well as more expensive. Complex as well. And so I mentioned some of the responses there. The Memorial Day weekend storms of 2017. If you look at the lower right picture there, this still gets talked about a lot by us. That was I'm sure some of you all remember the train derailment right here in Farragut. We're coming up on nearly the 20th anniversary now. It was a Sunday morning, and many people were coming home from church, and we're told it's either please evacuate, or it's people are trying to get home. It's not safe to be in your home right now. And about 2,600 people were evacuated. Frankly, this is one of the worst disasters in Knox County in modern history was right here in Farragut. We still talk about that and the lessons learned. Again, 2,600 people evacuated for about 3 days in that one. If you can see the picture there, if you see the white haze, that's not smoke. There was a ruptured tanker car carrying oleum which is a concentrated sulfuric acid. So what you're seeing there, that's the acid vapor cloud, and that was the threat that was posed by that incident, the reason for the evacuations there. But again, that one of Knox County's greatest disasters, and again, even though it's been a few years, not something we forget, and certainly had a quite an impact here on Farragut. Next slide, please, Allison. So. Relatively recent current issue that we've spent a lot of our last two years on was the COVID-19 response. Early 2020, we were hearing, it wasn't here yet as far as we knew, but we were hearing about a virus spreading and worrying it might come here. And so again, our role is to coordinate, support, plan, prepare for the emergency response. Our big concern at that time on the front end, we were very worried what would happen if we did not have enough law enforcement officers, enough firefighters, enough utility workers to literally keep the lights on, enough ambulance staff for what we anticipated would be a high demand. That's what we were concerned about. Fortunately, we didn't, the problems weren't that severe, but this was a record for us. We activated our Emergency Operations Center in March of 2020 and remained activated for the better part of 2 years. Again, that was a record for us. The longest our Emergency Operations Center had been activated to respond to a disaster was about a week. And so this beat that by quite a bit. Our EOC was, again, the central point of coordination, information sharing. A big part of our operation ended up being the logistics needs. If you remember, personal protective equipment was pretty difficult to get and was in short supply, and we wanted to make sure that it got where it was needed. And so our logistics section, our Emergency Operations Center, distributed thousands of N95 masks as well as hundreds of thousands of gloves and masks. And one thing that was kind of a lesson learned, frankly, I didn't know this was going to be our job, but again, our role is kind of to be the central point of coordination and support the response. Again, fortunately, even though our emergency response agencies had some challenges and some struggles, some things that was the headliner for us and actually end up getting a lot of our attention was social services and community service type issues. In fact, the triggering event for the Emergency Operations Center was when the CAC, if you're familiar with CAC Mobile Meals Program, used many volunteers, many of the senior citizens to go out and distribute meals to folks who otherwise may not get them. Well, when the guidance came out and said, if you're an older person, if you're a senior, you need to stay at home. You need to, make sure that you don't expose yourself. Well, all of a sudden the CAC Mobile Meals volunteers dried up, and this is something that I would not thought of. Again, this is outside of our wheelhouse. But when they started canceling school or going remote with school, well, frankly, I learned then that if there are kids that if they don't go to school that day, they don't eat that day, and so those are the types of challenges that the EOC and we worked on, again, together with our partners. We never want to take the credit here. Our role and our purpose is to collaborate and to try to facilitate and support emergency response. And I do want to thank the town of Farragut. Your staff members have, for years, had a great collaborative working relationship with us, again, being part of our planning efforts, being part of our training efforts. Trevor Hobbs was a regular attendee as part of our Emergency Operations Center and coordination process during COVID, and we're all grateful for the partnership. Any questions, or is there anything else that I can tell you?
Real quick question. I saw you had a list of natural hazard, technological hazards, and human cause. Do you get direction about, obviously you understand what some of our vulnerabilities here are already.
Mm-hmm.
Does TEMA, do you coordinate with TEMA to have that list of what it is we need to be most prepared for? What are our most likely incidences that you guys are going to have to contend with?
We certainly do work closely with TEMA. They really rely on us for that. That really needs to be looked at the community level. I mentioned some of the things that are specific to us. Where we sit, Knox County is right at the crossroads of 4075. We have a couple, rail yards and rail lines here in Knox County. number of tier 2 sites, the underground pipelines. We need to look really specific. We're right on the river, and so sometimes flooding is a concern. So the state looks to us to kind of really drill down and tell them what the concerns are here in the town, the city of Knoxville, and as well as Knox County.
Thank you.
Yeah, most certainly, some of the stuff's very obvious, but some of the ones you mentioned were not so obvious, and they're kind of eye-openers to think about as far as being a potential disaster. I think the one that really caught my eye during the drill was a sewer plant. Mm-hmm. How that could be a potential disaster there. I mean, we know it as a disaster in some ways, but the way that this was kind of an eye-opener for me, and that was the chlorine gas.
Sure. In that particular exercise, we simulated a chlorine leak from KUB wastewater facility, and of course KUB is we partner with our local utilities, and I think they have a very good safety program. But yeah, I think a lot of folks would be surprised if they knew. Not a lot of folks that know that there are literal tons, 1 ton cylinders of chlorine, near the University of Tennessee. But again, there are commercial industrial facilities throughout the community that many of them have. Certainly don't accuse them of unsafe safety practices, but wherever you have a hazard like that, there's also a concern. Sir.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I was going to say, I had the privilege of working for Summit Medical Group during the time of the rollout of the pandemic. And I remember specifically being very concerned about our patients who were not getting meal delivery. And I remember being on the phone with one of you, I think it was you, because your voice is very soothing. And I was like, I'm an accountant. If I have to drop off the food, I will, but I have social workers. And I remember you all coordinating our social workers to help get the patients food. So it's nice to put a face with a voice, and thank you for your service. I don't know what we would have done. I mean, the patients had to be fed, and there was no way to feed them. And you guys stepped up, and that was a lot. It meant a lot to us, so thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. We certainly don't claim to have the solutions, but there's a lot of value in bringing the partners together and putting our heads together, and it never fails to impress me just the way that our community folks are willing and able to rise to the occasion. Again, we didn't know who was going to step up to the plate and meet the needs, and it certainly wasn't always easy, but for the most part, the needs, at least the ones that were brought to us, were ultimately able to be met, and we're grateful for that.
Well, you rallied the troops, and we appreciate it. So there was a term I think I heard you say, an incident commander, and that tends to be either a sheriff or an EMS representative. Have you ever found, has your experience ever been a municipal government would actually step in and manage an incident as a commander, or is that typically more of an emergency trained professional, such as the ones you mentioned, like the sheriff's department or EMS?
Generally, when we think about the response to an emergency, again, in terms of our emergency responders, it's usually going to be and I'll stop and back up one minute and say this is from the Incident Command System, which is part of the National Incident Management System. So it's a national standard that we follow here. For the most part, that pertains to our emergency responders. That's the Incident Command System is the way, the universal way to manage the on-scene response at the scene of emergencies. So we certainly use that a very similar organizational structure in our emergency operations center. You certainly could, and I'd encourage you to use the organizational structure here. In fact, if you wanted to adopt the term incident commander, you certainly could. But when we say incident commander, we're usually talking about the emergency responder supervisor at the scene.
And that's a national standard, I heard. Okay, that's what I thought.
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect.
Trained professionals. Yeah.
So it's
And
good.
we would be happy to connect you all. The basic level incident command system training is available from FEMA online, and we teach the upper level incident command training courses as classroom courses, and we would be happy to make that available to any town staff that would like to join us for that.
I think we leave it to professionals. But thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Cullen. And Dan, I think maybe I'm going to call on you next to add a little bit on the first responder level to what Cullen gave us the high level of.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Certainly. Dan Johnson, Fire Marshal. I can't add a whole lot. I can say that, as you expressed, the first responder level, mainly Rural Metro Fire, AMR, Knox County Sheriff's Department, we coordinate, and it's all about information sharing and partnerships. And the town is a part of that partnership, as you heard Colin explain. Additionally, back, I have notes in here, I think it was in excess of 10 years ago, the town adopted NIMS as a standard, National Incident Management System. And we had trained at that time, I think all directors with, and Allison's nodding her head, with some basic level incident command system classes. So, you know, that, as Colin said, that's available online. And what we offer here at the town at the local level is a small amount of resources, but a large scale of information that can go through from anything from basic infrastructure information on stormwater and drainage and what's going to go where and streets, up to what are the demographics of certain areas, and we may have some further knowledge than KGIS has immediately available on mapping. So the train derailment, as Colin said, that was a large incident. The town played a role in that our Public Works and our engineering department were both key players. Once the initial incident was brought to not to a close, but in a safer situation, and those two agencies within the town played roles for a long duration after the initial mess was mitigated. So, and then the other thing I wanted to add is about 10 years ago, the town made an initiative to strengthen the communications via radio with TEMA and KEMA, and they purchased a small cache of equipment, and we can utilize that for coordination between us and our incident commanders and our staff here and the EOC downtown. So
That's great.
If you have any other questions for me.
Okay, Brad Hall, do you have anything that you want to add to that? If so,
I mean, not any more than what they said. Usually, as far as we
come on,
go,
come on up.
then prepare like they did. No paperwork.
Yeah, but I knew you could wing it.
Brad Hall, Knox County Sheriff's Office. Like they said, we all partner together along with everybody from the rescue squad, rural metro, to everybody who responds. Usually for us, it's, the supervisor that's on duty then usually responds to the EOC and commands everything from there till somebody else, maybe at a higher level, a higher rank or something, responds there and takes over for them. So we all share information like they said. Everybody gets together in that one room and just tries to make it all work, and it works out well.
Okay.
We did work with Colin several years ago when, I don't know if you remember this or not, I'm the precinct captain over on Parkside Drive for the office, and Colin, we set up an active shooter situation over there at the pinnacle of Turkey Creek. So we did that several years ago, so that since they're kind of in the center there, where the movie theater and everything else is there, we set that up several years ago and did an exercise over there, so a kind of classroom exercise. So we've done some things like that together, but if you need us to help in any way, just let us know and we'll be more than happy to get it together for you.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Brad.
Brad.
Thank you, Brad. And unless anybody else has anything, this will conclude our special presentation, and I want to thank the folks that come down to help us out with this. it was an eye-opener for me to go to the drill and to see the professionals that were participating on all levels. And I just thought that it would be something that our residents would like to hear about, to kind of give them a little bit of ease like it did me. So thank you again. Appreciate it.
Thank you all for being
you all.
here. We really
Thank you all.
appreciate your time.
Okay, next, I will yield the floor to the Vice Mayor for her report.
I have nothing to report.
Okay, any of the aldermen have anything? Nothing at
here,
all?
Mayor.
Okay, then we will move on to business items. We have a busy business agenda tonight with 7 items to review and to consider. And we'll start off with approval of a request for a reappointment to the Education Relations Committee.
Yes, sir. Beth Duncan is seeking reappointment to the Farragut Education Relations Committee. She has missed more than the allotted number of meetings and is seeking the reappointment. Her request is attached. The motion is to reappoint Beth Duncan to the Farragut Education Relations Committee.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, any resident comments?
Yes, sir.
None? Okay, a discussion. Alderman Meyer,
Pass.
Alderman Burnett,
I'll pass.
Vice Mayor.
I'm just going to state Beth Duncan is a hard worker, as all of the women who serve on that committee. This has just been a matter of, she's a mom and takes on a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot of times the reason they miss some, so. Okay, with discussion closed, I'll now ask that all in favor of approval of recommendation, say so by saying yes.
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 Let the record show the committee reappointment has been approved. Okay, next will be approval of Farragut Education Relations Committee Charter Amendment.
Yes, sir. This committee that allows for eligible high school students to serve as youth representatives on the committee. The representative positions allow the high school students to engage in the committee, offer input on committee business, and provide the committee with perspective that the committee would not otherwise have without the youth representative. After reviewing the youth representative applications for the Education Relations Committee, the committee would like to amend the charter to remove the specific number of youth representatives. This would provide more opportunities for eligible youths to be in the committee to serve each of the committee. Motion is to approve the proposed amendment to the Farragut Education Relations Committee charter.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, resident comments?
No, sir.
None. Okay, we'll, in discussion, Alderman Meyer,
Pass.
Alderman Burnett.
I think it's a great idea, and I think it's something we probably ought to look at even for some of our other committees. When you see the number of youth that put in for to serve on our committees this year, that number went up tremendously, and I would love not to turn away those folks and get them engaged. So I'm for this and would be for looking at it for our other committees as well. Thanks.
Okay, Vice Mayor.
And I agree with you, Alderman Burnett. I think the museum committee is doing the same thing, and that's where Jen got this language from. We had 3 really, really strong candidates. And a couple of years ago, it was probably before you were on the board, we had all gone to a TML meeting and was trying to put together a youth council. And we were struggling with how to do it. We brought a bunch of youth in, and we really just didn't know how we were going to make it work and what they were going to do. And of course, we don't want to waste their time. But I look at this as an opportunity, as we are engaging, certainly with our Education Relations Committee, we're getting more engaged with our schools. In that Education Relations Committee, we were able to help with the student representative. She was able to take some information back to the junior class that had that movie on the field last year. I don't remember what they called it. But it was something that they were toying with, and they didn't know how to get started. And of course, bringing that to us, we had all the people we could connect them with, and they were able to have a very successful fundraiser to kick off their can drive. And of course, it was another community event, and we really want to see more of that. So if we can get our youth hosting stuff like that they want to put the energy into, that's just good for our community. So we've got the other ones in reserve to let them know we'd like them on the committee. The more the merrier, so.
Okay, I agree with that. I think that's something in the museum and the Arts and Beautification Committees both. We'll probably do this across the board as we can get to it. So with sufficient discussion of the request, I'll ask all in favor of approval, vote by saying yes.
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 Okay, let the record show that the request Amendment has been approved. Next, very similar, approval of Farragut Museum Committee Charter and Bylaws Amendment.
Yes, sir. This is also the same request for the youth council members, and the motion is to approve the proposed amendment for the Farragut Museum Committee Charter and Bylaws.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, I'll go, any resident comments? Okay, then I'll just go straight to the vote. All in favor, vote favor, say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Let the record show the requested amendment has been approved. Next will be rejection of bids for contract 2022-07, Advanced Traffic Management System, ATMS project. And Darrell, you're up.
Good evening. Unfortunately, this is a rejection of bids for our ATMS project. We've been talking about this project for a few years now. You recall it includes, ATMS is Advanced Traffic Management Systems. It includes connection of all 26 of our signals to a central control here at Town Hall, along with a whole lot of new and much better equipment. That project has actually been moving along a little bit lately. We have a CEI consultant who is on standby. They've been doing a little bit of the work with utilities. Utility make-ready work has been moving along. It's my understanding, I believe, LCUB has already installed their poles and moved off of their old poles. So other utilities are moving in to get out of the way. We opened bids on May 5th, and we have a problem. The low bidder, unfortunately, failed to include the proper bid bond in their bid packet. That is one of several items that TDOT requires in all bids. TDOT lets a whole lot of projects throughout the year, and they're very strict in their process. We are following their protocols for this because it is federal funding, state funding and federal. So TDOT has got to approve the bids before we can award the contract. They do not approve of the low bid. Now, they've given us two options. One is to go with the next lowest bid, and they are about $900,000 higher, and that is about $615,000 higher than our budget. So if we did that, we would be responsible for the $615,000 beyond the budget. The other option is we reject all bids and rebid the thing. So that is staff's recommendation. I think it's the most logical. We can start the bidding process tomorrow. We're ready to do it. TDOT has already approved of our advertisement, so we're ready to do it again. That's my understanding that Robert's Rules requires that the motion be made in the affirmative. Is that correct?
They try to be.
Okay. So this sounds a little weird,
Doesn't
but
always work out that way.
staff's recommendation is approval of the rejection of all bids for contract 2022-07 ATMS Phase 1.
I move to approve the rejection of all bids of contract 2022-07 ATMS Phase 1.
Okay, any resident comments?
No, sir.
On this one? Okay, we're going to start discussion with Alderman Meyer,
I pass.
Alderman Burnett.
Yeah, Darrell, can you talk a little bit to your experience over the past couple decades of situations like this happening and typically what you see? Do you see...
I've seen it kind of play out in both directions, to be
That's
honest.
what I'm getting at. Because everybody knows what the bid was, and so that could create an artificial floor and go higher, but it could also, does it ever bring in more competitive bids for other companies seeing this and knowing that they could do a little less and probably get the job?
I'm afraid to guess, but, well, I will. That just means there's a really strong likelihood I could be wrong here. Yes, it's a problem. Once everybody has already shown their cards, you're right, that could be seen as a floor. The low bidder could say, well, I've obviously got a lot of room to raise my bid. But at the same time, the next lowest bidder may say, we're overlooking something here. We need to figure out if they can do it for that, we're going to have to be a lot more competitive here and go find out what they've missed. So it can work either direction. In this case, I would say we will get a more competitive second bid. And the low bid will probably be about where it is now.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, good question. Vice Mayor?
How long will this take?
How long will this take?
Yeah.
We opened bids on May 5th. We determined 2 weeks ago that we were going to have to reject and rebid. It takes a little while to get TDOT's blessing on it, about a month or so.
Okay.
Plus a minimum 3 weeks advertisement. We get
So you're
TDOT's.
going to advertise it tomorrow? You're
We'll
going to have
start
to
it
wait 3
tomorrow.
weeks?
And it will be minimum 3 weeks before we can open bids. We will then make sure we have everything we need, send everything to TDOT. They will concur. And once they're okay with it, we'll bring it back to the board for your approval. So
Okay.
we're looking at a good 8 or 9 weeks.
How are we going to get this to TDOT? What means of transportation?
Oh, the bids themselves? I'll leave that up to Cannon and Cannon to do that.
Okay.
That's what they did, how they did it last time.
That's what I wanted to hear. Okay, any more discussion? Okay, with discussion complete, and since this is a request for rejection of a previously approved contract, I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Alderman Meyer,
Yes.
Yes.
Alderman Burnett,
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Mayor Williams, yes. Let the record show the contract has been rejected by unanimous vote as requested. Thank you, Darrell. Looking forward to the next round of this. Okay.
Let's get it done.
Next will be approval of First Utility District easement at McPhee Park.
This is kind of a housekeeping measure. First Utility District requires that any utilities installed on public property be contained within an easement. As we've now completed the McPhee Park Phase 3, they have requested dedication of easements for their water line and sanitary sewer line. I included in your packets kind of an outline of where those utilities are. That's the water line that extends from the northern entrance at McPhee Road all the way around the loop back over to near the splash pad. It creates a loop, which they always want to do when they have a water line there. Sanitary sewer line extends up to what was the Dimick House. And again, that's a separate easement. Both of these will be 15-foot wide easements. Now, that protects, dedication of these easements protects First Utilities' interests in the lines, simply because they have control of the lines, and if they ever have to be moved, they're covered. Their costs are covered. It protects our interest to dedicate these easements because those lines become the property of First Utility District, and if there's ever any problem, it's theirs to fix.
That's good, yeah.
So it's a good trade-off. So all that being said, staff recommends approval of the documents and granting of utility easement to First Utility District as presented.
Move to approve.
Okay, thank you. Any residents to
Sir.
comment on that? None. Discussion, Alderman Meyer,
Pass.
Alderman Burnett,
No questions.
Vice Mayor.
I have none.
I've got a couple. That water line loop, is that expandable?
Expandable, as
Yeah.
in,
I mean, we still have the right to hook onto it if we decide
Yes.
to
Yes,
put
that's
something
correct.
else, such as
And-
another.
They have, you can see some of the stub outs they've included there that are, they'll be in the easement as well, but it's in preparation for future amenities.
Okay. And that's gravity feed on the sewer?
I believe that's correct, yes.
That's all I've got. Okay, with discussion completed, I'll ask, all in favor, vote by saying yes.
Yes.
Okay, let's, record show the easement has been approved as requested. Okay, next will be approval of purchase of a 2022 John Deere 9997R zero-turn lawnmower.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a purchase for the Public Works Department. This is kind of a workhorse of a lawnmower that we use every single day throughout the season. This is a replacement mower for the current mower of the same exact unit and model. It is a 72-inch mower. We received Sourcewell is who we went through with this for ground maintenance contract number 031121 DAC. We contacted Ag Pro, local here in Farragut, for a bid for that, and the cost is going to be $21,513.91. And again, this is a replacement piece of equipment. So our motion would be to approve the purchase from Ag Pro for $21,513.91.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, any
sir.
resident discussion needed? No, okay. Alderman Meyer, any questions?
I just think this machine is so cool.
It is.
I want one of those so bad. Anyway, no comment.
I want to see that.
Not that I've ever mowed my yard before, but I might with this thing.
You should have been at the competition, and you
Yeah.
could have learned
I
how
would
to
have.
do
I'm-
that
I'm
when
still-
we had it at Public Works there.
I'm still waiting for my invite to drive the snow plows, so I haven't forgotten, David.
Okay,
Okay,
well,
all
we
right.
got to have some snow
I
first.
hear you. I hear you.
Alderman Burnett,
No questions.
Mayor?
I don't have any questions. I'm just glad we could work with Ag Pro. It's good that we can help out a business in town.
Well, going through Sourcewell, that chance is always there, so. Okay, with discussion complete, I'll ask all in favor vote by saying yes.
Yes.
Let the record show the purchase has been approved. Okay, next, number 7, approval of purchase of a 2022 Case backhoe loader.
Thank you, Mayor. This also is a replacement piece of equipment. This is another large piece of equipment. If you saw it a couple weeks ago, actually about a week ago now, out in front of Town Hall, we were using that to dig out a pretty large hole from a water line break that we had here. But this is for a purchase of a 2022 Case 580 SN loader and backhoe. This is also going through the Sourcewell bid process. Staff contacted Contractors Machinery, and they gave us a price of $132,508.89. And the motion would be to approve the purchase from Contractors Machinery in that amount of $132,508.89.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay. Resident comments?
No, sir.
None. Okay, discussion, Alderman Meyer,
Also, a cool piece of equipment. That's all I'm gonna say.
Alderman Burnett,
No questions.
Yes, Mayor.
I think my husband wants one of these.
I'll take the tractor. You can have this.
This is the top of the line, matter of fact, the case is, so if,
I don't know where we'd put it, but I think you would love to have it.
it was discussion complete, I'll ask all in favor, vote by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes, let the record show the purchase has been approved as requested. Okay, next, Town Administrator's Report.
Mayor, just wanted to let everyone know, I know last weekend, unfortunately, we got rained out. Steve and FBA got rained out for Music Fest, but we do have another music event coming up this weekend at the Founders Park. Lawn Chair Series coming up Saturday from 5 to 9 o'clock, and so we look forward to everyone that can come and visit and have a great time, and hopefully have good weather for Saturday evening. So hope to see everyone there, and that's all I have to report.
Okay. Well, let's see here. Our town attorney is amending on the mend now, so he's not going to be here tonight. Any citizen comments?
sir.
None at all? Okay, then time is approximately 6:53 p.m. And without objection, July 14th, 2022 Farragut Board Mayor and Alderman meeting is now adjourned.